Identity theft is an ever-present threat in our increasingly interconnected world. Luckily, we now have departments whose sole focus is to help people protect themselves from identity theft and scams. I am happy to welcome Bailey Park to the show, Communications Director for the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. Bailey, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I have to ask, I'll start off with the most common techniques and methods that these thieves use to get our information.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways, but it could be over the phone, text message, social media, email. I mean, they'll use any way that they can contact you to get your information.
And what age groups are most susceptible to scams?
So there's a common misconception that older adults are the ones that are the most susceptible. Now, they are vulnerable, but millennials actually are the ones that are getting targeted the most and actually are falling for fraud the most often currently.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's probably because they're more present, maybe online, they're active in the marketplace when it comes to credit, things like that, probably. But we do want to really say that older adults, when they are victims of fraud, they lose more money every time they are victims of fraud.
Okay, and now what is the most common form of fraud that you see?
Credit card fraud.
Credit card fraud, why is that?
It's probably the easiest form of fraud to commit.
Okay.
Just because either they open up a credit card in your name, it's very easy to do so with your information, or you've saved your credit card information into an online shopping store and they maybe hack into your account and use it for themselves, or they just steal your credit card in general.
Okay, so would you recommend not saving your?
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about the proactive measures we can take, but first, what are the legal implications for someone who was getting caught committing identity fraud?
It depends.
Okay.
There can be prison sentences, fines, fees, things like that. But the problem here, a lot of the time, is people aren't caught. It's so hard to catch identity thieves and scammers because oftentimes the perpetrators of these crimes are not in the jurisdiction of your local law enforcement. They might not be in the state that you're located in or even in the country that you're in.
So it's
so hard to catch these people. They're very smart. I think there's this old adage that scammers are dumb and that they're writing you emails with bad grammar and all this stuff. That's not the case anymore. These people are very smart, constantly changing their tactics. So they know what to do to cover their tracks. So it's so hard to catch these guys.
Okay, and so you mentioned, not saving our credit card information in Shopify or, whatever platform. What are some other proactive measures that we can take to protect ourselves?
Great question. So number one thing, if you're shopping online, do not use a debit card when you're shopping online. That's a straight line into your checking account. That's your actual money.
Okay.
So if you're shopping online, only use a credit card. Has a lot more insurance and protection behind it. And as much as we'd love to think that it's our actual money, it's not your actual money.
That's a very fair point.
So if there is a fraudulent charge on that account, that credit card company is much more likely to return that money to your account than, say, a debit card.
Okay.
So always think of that when you're shopping online. Only shop online on secure sites. So it's the S after the HTTP. That means that site has paid extra money to encrypt their site. And the general rule of thumb is, if you're shopping online, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. I don't know how many phone calls we get or emails we get of people saying, well, I saw this just rock bottom price of some Louboutins or whatever it is. And they said, I got sucked in and I paid the $200 and then nothing showed up. And then somebody stole my credit card information right after that. So that's a general rule of thumb to follow. But for identity theft in general, consider a fraud alert. These are all free things to do. A fraud alert, you call the credit reporting agencies and it's placed on your credit report. Basically requires creditors looking at your credit to take extra steps to verify your identity. There's the security freeze, also free, puts a lockdown on your credit report. It's a free option. It's probably the best form of protection against people opening up new lines of credit in your name.
And how can the public stay informed and get involved?
So we have an identity theft unit. Please follow us. We are constantly putting out scam alerts on our social media about what we're seeing, what we're getting reported to us by consumers. Also working with the FBI, the Federal Trade Commission, and what they're seeing.
Yes.
So we are constantly trying to educate consumers about what's out there.
Yeah.
So follow us.
Okay, well, I will put your website down below. Bailey, thank you so much for talking to us about this issue.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, we're back after this.